the National Economic Development Party, currently the largest political party in Eastern Central Africa. And I am very happy to engage with you all this day on a number of issues touching on our party and the national conversations. Asanteni sana.
Okay, Bwana Mulwa, I know many of the Kenyans are currently checking on the state of the nation, and I want to, from the perspective of the NEDP,
Yes.
how would you honestly describe the current state of the nation? Are Kenyans better off today than they were a year ago?
It would be unfortunate to not tell ourselves the truth. The reality is that all the reports that I have come across in the last 3-4 years indicate and paint a very grim picture of the reality on the ground. But most importantly, you don't even need to read a report. You just need to listen to Kenyans and share experiences with Kenyans. And you can be sure the situation in this country is very dire. And I'll give you specifics. First, recently, the World Bank released a report that evaluated the 5 presidents Kenya has ever had since independence. And in that particular report, they evaluated the first 3 years of President Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. They evaluated the first 3 years of President Daniel Arap Moi, first 3 years of President Mwai Kibaki, first 3 years of Uhuru Kenyatta, and finally first 3 years of President William Ruto. And you'll be surprised that in the first 3 years of President Mwai Kibaki, who came tops, the national economy grew by 42%. That is the World Bank. Number 2 was Uhuru Kenyatta, whose economy in the first 3 years grew by, I think, about 36%. Shockingly, number 3 was Mzee Daniel Arap Moi, whose first 3 years the economy grew by about...
Moi Kibaki. Number 3, Moi Kibaki.
No, number 3 was Moi, President Moi. Number 1 was Mwai Kibaki, who had the highest economic growth in the first 3 years at 42%. Number 2 was President Uhuru Kenyatta, whose economy in the first 3 years grew by about 36%. Number 3 was Mzee Daniel Arap Moi, whose economy in the first 3 years grew by about 31%. Number 4 was Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, whose economy grew by about 26% in the first 3 years. And shockingly, under William Ruto, the national economy has only grown by 16% in 3 years. And that's the reality on the ground. Today, when you look at statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, there has never been such a high unemployment rate in the history of this country. Those are facts by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. There has never been, actually since 2003, it is only January 2026, for the first time we have seen our children unable to go to school because of the disconnect and because of the mess that has been created in our education sector. Today, when you walk around almost every family, there is a health crisis whereby they have either somebody admitted in hospital or somebody detained in hospital, because we had a national hospital insurance fund that was functional, that was messed up 3 years ago. Today, more Kenyans are being relinquished into poverty simply because we have a completely dysfunctional healthcare system in the country. When you look at tertiary education, we have actually a majority of the young people today who benefited initially from the free primary education that Mwai Kibaki introduced are college and university graduates, because we had a sensible, practical, functional funding model for tertiary education that was completely missed. Today, I encounter cases of extremely poor families that are unable to educate their children at the college and university level simply because of what was done 2 or 3 years ago. The list is endless. So when we talk about the state of the nation, I think What Kenya has been reduced to is a talk show whereby we have a government that is talking too much, and hardly anything to show on the ground. And if you want to look at the statistics I gave you from the World Bank, Mwai Kibaki never ran around this country standing on rooftops and on sunroofs to preach to Kenyans what he was doing, but then the economy and the numbers actually spoke for themselves. On the converse, today we have a government that is very loud, and I mean extremely loud, but that does not match the reality or the feeling of the ordinary citizens. So we are at a very bad place, socially, politically, and economically as a country. And we have, unless we do something between now and the next general election, Kenya is going to sink into a hole we'll never be able to retrieve ourselves.
We have heard not once or twice the president say that he is a student of Mwai Kibaki. Where do you think he is going wrong?
I think that is his own assumption that he's a student of Mwai Kibaki. But we have seen a lot of cases whereby people go to school and eventually they do not translate to what they are taught. And I think that is a clear case, because as much as the current president, William Ruto, claims to have been a student of Mwai Kibaki, the numbers are speaking extremely loudly against any correlation between between the management of the economy by Mwai Kibaki and by William Ruto. So it's a bit unfortunate, actually. I must admit. Yes.
Many Kenyans are struggling with the cost of the living as we talk. What concrete solution is NEDP proposing beyond criticism of the government?
Actually, you will notice that we have not even been in the business of criticism, because anybody can criticize, and it does not require any unique knowledge to criticize. In fact, it is very easy to criticize. But there are several things I want to point out to you. Number one, people must begin to take very seriously the history and the character and the attributes of individuals that they elect into office. If I have been given a small opportunity, say, to serve as an MCA, and then I do my 5 years without any meaningful transformation in the lives of the people that I lead, it will be ridiculous to expect, if you elevate or give me a bigger responsibility as a member of National Assembly or as a senator, I will do better. The reason I'm giving you that background is because as a country, we have continued to elect individuals, especially at the highest offices in this country, individuals with extremely questionable backgrounds and without any history of anything tangible that can be attributed to their names. And I don't want to get down to individuals, because I at my level, and especially based on what we are building as a political party, we don't want to get into a bashing spree. But it will be important to highlight, for the 20, 30 years, perhaps almost 30 years that William Ruto served as a member of parliament, it is difficult to place even a single bill, a transformative law or piece of legislation that can be attributed to him, whether it is towards alleviating the lives of the hustlers, or whether it is about transformation of education or health or security, name it. So sometimes we expect too much from individuals who have proven incompetence before. And I think that is one of the key areas we are critically working on as a political party. As the National Economic Development Party, we have taken time to thoroughly understand the challenges that we face as an economy, but we want to go beyond that. Our prognosis clearly points to the reality that what we no longer have is the element of humanity in governance. And that is the sole thing that our party leader intends to fix. His brand and his style of politics has been entirely humanitarian, and that is what we have realized is completely lacking in the management of our national affairs. And I'll be specific to you. Um, when you look at the cases of corruption that are completely decimating this country. Corruption is birthed by a level of greed that does not care about anybody else. That's the reality. But if we restore humanity in our governance, you can be certain that before I steal money that is meant for medicines, or for health, for the healthcare of our mothers in our dispensaries and health centers, before I steal money that is meant to feed our children in primary schools and secondary schools, before I steal money that is meant for building roads or any other types of infrastructure, then I must be anchored on a conscience. And that is entirely what is lacking in this country, whereby one person would be perfectly comfortable to steal without flinching a whole 40 billion shillings, yet the 40 billion shillings is actually what is needed to ensure the more than 1 million kids who are not reporting to secondary school today can be provided with free secondary education. So, sometimes we need to stop complicating very simple issues. What we are facing here is a national moral crisis, and individuals who are elected into office without any intention whatsoever of serving the people of this country. And that is what the National Economic Development Party intends to restore. From the top leadership of this country to everybody that will be vying or running for office on our party ticket, it must be proven that you have the capacity to serve the people of your respective areas. And it is going to be easy. Our intention is to clean up the mess that political party platforms have been in this country. For many years, you realize that most of the times you have to be known personally either to the party leader or to the secretary general or to the chairman or whichever other official for you to get favor and get nominated unfairly. What we are doing as a party, and this is, I can guarantee you, something that has never been done in the history of this country, all our candidates will be determined by the people of Kenya. And that is where
through nominations.
Yeah, through nominations. But these nominations, initially, even before you qualify or you choose to go for those nominations, we shall seek the inputs or the guidance of the electorate itself. If I am Ben Mulwa and I am the Secretary General of the National Economic Development Party, and my popularity standing is at 0 or 1 or 2%, and there is another candidate who has a higher or stronger popularity rating, you can be guaranteed that the NEDP will issue nomination to the most qualified person. And this actually comes to reaffirm the position that was spoken by our party leader, His Excellency Mike Sonko. One of the reasons a lot of people are denied opportunities in the so-called mainstream political parties is because they do not have the funds or the money to bribe officials to buy nomination certificates. What we are saying and what we have decided as an NEDP, if your popularity is right and you are the most suitable candidate and you do not have resources to run a campaign, the party will come in to finance your campaign. And that has been the official position of the NEDP. That is why we are believing genuinely we'll be able to give an opportunity to the border fellas. You may be the border chairman of a particular county or a particular constituency or a particular ward. Of course, you may not have all the resources that you need to run a serious campaign, but if the people, through thorough research, confirm to us that you are their favorite candidate, we will step in. We want to guarantee you will get your nomination certificate and you will get the support of the party, because that is the only way we are going to clean up the political mess. And perhaps also to add on to something else very important. You realize in 2013, we had very few people elected as independent candidates. The number grew significantly in 2017, and by 2022, as we speak today, we had actually 2 governors elected as independent candidates. Do you want to tell me that Mwadime, who was a sitting member of the National Assembly, could not find a political party to run on? Do you want to tell me that Kawira could not find a political party to run on while she was the sitting member of parliament as a woman representative for the people of Meru? The answer is not that they could not find. The answer is they could not tolerate the shenanigans that are played in the so-called mainstream political parties. And the main reason why they went ahead to win these elections is because they were the preferred candidates by the people, but they were denied an opportunity to run on a political party platform. And that is where we come in as the NEDP. If you have the people and you are the preferred choice by the people, you can be guaranteed of a fair, transparent process, because that is the only way we are going to end up with individuals who have been tested by the people themselves. It is not me as Ben Mulwa as SG to sit here and decide you are a good man or you're a bad man, you are a good leader or you're a bad leader. It will not even be the honors of the party leader. It is going to be the responsibility of the citizens to tell us the kind of leaders they want to elect. Because if you go to every village in this country, they know amongst themselves somebody who can be given an opportunity as an MCA and they'll be transformative. They know somebody who can be given an opportunity as an MCA and they'll be a thief. They know them. So sisi hatutaingililia ati kwenda kupanga wananchi. Wananchi wenyewe ndio watajipanga, na tutahakikisha ya kwamba wale viongozi ambao wamedhihirisha, wamejitolea kuwahudumikia, na wale wamekuwa wakiwafanyia kazi, hata kama ni kazi kidogo aje. Whether you have been the mama mboga chair in your area, whether you have been the boda boda chair, whether you have been the mkokoteni sako chair, whether you are a matatu driver, whether you are a matatu tout, it doesn't matter. Kama wananchi wanaona na kulingana na vile wamekupima na kulingana na vile wameishi na wewe ndio utaweza kubadilisha maisha yao. You can be guaranteed that at the National Economic Development Party, you will have a hope.
Okay, about the road to Singapore,
Yes.
We have heard the president most of the time say that Kenya is heading to Singapore. We don't know when, but during yesterday's event in State House,
Yes.
NGC
Yes.
for the UDA party, the president said that many of the countries that have developed have done so because maybe their leaders had that dictatorship leadership. Do we expect to see such kind of leadership in Kenya? And in the position of NEDP, where do you see our country in the next 7 years?
First, I want us to be extremely clear. We must desist from the habit of misinforming the public. These leaders are people who are extremely astute and extremely focused and extremely disciplined in what they were doing. That cannot be translated to mean dictatorship. Dictatorship arises in a scenario whereby somebody inherently knows they are incompetent, and then they believe that they need to use extra force to coerce or to force people into a particular line of thinking or into a particular way of doing things. And by all standards, that is not a way to build a future for any country. So let nobody lie to you about that. Number two, when we keep talking about Singapore, in 1965, Kenya, through the cabinet minister then, the late Tom Mboya, presented what we call the sessional paper number 10 of 1965. And this was christened as the Kenya's Economic Bible, which was intended to completely transform this country. And it was anchored on 3 major pillars. The first pillar was completely eradicate poverty, not manage or not reduce. Eradicate poverty, eradicate disease, and eradicate ignorance. Ignorance to the larger, in the larger context, in terms of enhancing our literacy and education levels. Now, when that paper was actually celebrated across many countries, and it is the same paper in 1965 or 1966 that countries like South Korea, countries like Singapore, countries like Malaysia came to borrow from Kenya's economists, because this paper was done by some of the finest economists then, including the late Barack Obama Sr. and many others. What am I trying to say? That what we have here is a crisis, is a moral crisis, as I indicated, whereby we have leaders who have deliberately refused to do what they are supposed to do. It's just that simple. And that is what the kind of leadership that we want to reinstate into national and county leadership in this country, where we have to agree, if you are elected as president, if you are elected as a governor or as a member of parliament or senator or any other position, then your sole responsibility is to strictly do what you are elected to do. And again, on that issue of what they call benevolent dictatorship, or whatever it is that they want to call it, it's truly unfortunate for somebody to think about a dictatorship in this country. There are two revolutions that have occurred in this country. And the first revolution that occurred was the clamor or the fight for independence that gave us self governance. That was 1963, 1964. The second revolution that occurred in this country was the clamor for the multi-party space and democracy that we enjoy today, which was permanently enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Anybody who is uncomfortable with the provisions of that constitution has got no business whatsoever imagining or even thinking about becoming a leader of whatsoever level in this country. And it has been evident the current administration and even the immediate previous administration were very uncomfortable with this constitution. I don't want to delve into much about that. But the one and the last and mandatory revolution that must occur in this country is an economic revolution. Kenya has been led by economic saboteurs for way too long, to the extent that national resources are misused or misdirected to benefit a very small cabal of individuals at the expense of national interest. And if you look at the genesis of the 2024 and 2025 uprising by the Gen Z, it was about the economy. Because now we have millions of young children in this country who wake up every morning to do nothing. It is only God sent that now we have other platforms that are outside any government intervention, like the digital space that has created quite a number of opportunities for a majority of them. But we have completely destroyed agriculture in this country because we keep importing cheap stuff, and the tenderpreneurs, especially around the people or the powers that be, must profit from that. We killed, for example, the cotton industry. I mean, it's unfortunate. 60 years after independence, and we cannot even produce enough clothing or enough cotton to clothe ourselves. And why I'm very particular about agriculture, because there is a reason, even in a couple of centuries ago, why the agrarian revolution came before the industrial revolution. We must stop lying to ourselves that we want to be an industrialized nation and these first class kind of things. We are lying to ourselves, yet we cannot even feed ourselves. Right now, we are in a mega crisis. You have seen the kind of drought that we have in the northeastern parts of this country and many other counties. And it is a tragedy that 60 years after independence, we cannot plan and even utilize the water resources that we have to be able to feed ourselves and even our livestock. So I think this conversation about Singapore, to a large extent, is misleading. It is meant to divert the attention of Kenyans from the real issues and the real conversations. But I'm glad now a lot of Kenyans now are aware of the realities, and they have continued to demonstrate a willingness to do things differently. So those who want to go to Singapore, we can only wish them luck. Some of us are very committed to sit here and work from within and fix this country from within. We don't need to go to Singapore. We just need to sort out our governance. But wale ambao wanataka kusafiri, we can only wish them well.
The February by-election is just around the
Oh,
corner.
yes.
Do you believe in the IEBC openness and the fairness in the current state of elections in Kenya?
So far from where I see it, I personally, and even as at the political party level, we don't have any reason to have any doubts about the constitution and the capacity and the competence of the IEBC as it is. Of course, there were many concerns about the November 2025 by-elections from various quarters. But from where we sit, I think to a large extent, especially as a new commission that was barely 3 months into office or 4 months into office, and given that they found a backlog of many elections, I think they did fairly well. There are some concerns that we have also already raised in terms of IBC preparedness and also engagement of the public for purposes of conducting fair elections. So we believe because we will be participating in the upcoming by-elections, we have four candidates. We have a candidate in Isiolo North. We have a candidate in Evurore in Embu. We have a candidate also in Muminji in Embu. And lastly, we have a candidate in Malava in Embu. So so far, I have not seen anything out of the ordinary that would raise the alarm in terms of the capacity or the competence of the IEBC. But I would wish to take this opportunity to urge them that they are an extremely important. They play an extremely important role in the management of an extremely important exercise where Kenyans directly exercise their constitutional right to choose leadership. The IEBC should continue to remain independent as it is espoused in the Constitution and ensure fairness and transparency in the processes. And most importantly, ensure that discipline is non-negotiable within political parties and their campaigns. Because you remember, like in the last by-elections, there was a lot of violence in a lot of places. That cannot be blamed on the IEBC. But the IEBC has the duty to come up with very punitive measures and implement the law strictly, regardless of the perpetrators of this violence, so that Kenyans can build confidence. Because God willing, we do not wish for any reasons to arise for more by-elections. But the February by-elections will be a true litmus test. Whether IEBC has learned anything from what happened in the November by-elections and whether IEBC will be ready to conduct the 2027 general elections. As the youngest political party in the country, which has grown in less than 2 months to become one of the largest national political parties in this country, I want to guarantee you that we are not going into these by-elections to test our popularity or to test the waters. We are going into this to win. And when you ask about preparedness, I think for those who have been following our conversations, there are many who doubted our seriousness about this, but it is evident that we are slightly more than prepared for these by-elections. And we mean business. Our party leader is not new to politics. Our party leader has a history that is yet, or a record that is yet to be broken by any other politician in this country. Our party leader currently enjoys the largest organic national support as a leader after the late Baba. And we are not going into this to test the waters. We are not going into this just to try, because it took a lot of careful consideration even before we decided to field to fill the candidates we currently have. And yeah, I don't want to say much, but I would want us to have this conversation again immediately after the by-elections. We are very serious about what we are doing. And I must also take this opportunity at this particular stage to genuinely appreciate the kind of support that Kenyans have accorded us. Because where I sit as the Secretary General, I have received a lot of serious interest for people who want to be a part of us and be a part of this movement from every corner of this country. In fact, initially, I remember some people came up with rumors that we were maybe somebody's project. Others came up with rumors that we were coming up to mess up the ground for another person and that kind of things. And you realize, do you realize that for the National Economic Development Party, we are not even interested in the constituency that supports the two existing political formations? We are not even bothered. Because I'll give you very basic statistics. In the year 2022, William Ruto won the national election with 7.1 million votes. The late Baba Raila Odinga, God bless his soul, came second with 6.9 million votes.
Yeah, sure.
But the IEBC had about 23 million registered voters. So only 14 million Kenyans saw a reason to wake up to vote. Do you know what that means? That means there is a whole 9 million Kenyans who are actually the majority and who are actually the people ruling this country today, who did not see any reason whatsoever or any iota of hope in the Kenya Kwanza framework or in the Azimio coalition. They are the majority. So, and I can guarantee you, based on all the statistics that I have access to, the support base of the ruling coalition has significantly reduced over the last 4 years. The support base of the Azimio coalition has significantly reduced over the years. So these Kenyans that did not participate in this election and those that are getting registered as voters in the ongoing voter registration are looking for a credible alternative that is outside the mess that these existing coalitions have put us. So we are not bothered about their constituency. Sisi tuko na constituency yetu. We have a very clear, solid agenda. We have a very clear and solid mission and vision about what we want to do, and that is the constituency we are working with. Because regardless of what these other existing coalitions do, they have no capacity to access this particular constituency. So we are not even in competition with them. We are not even bothered about what they are doing. Sisi tuko na constituency and we are focusing on building that number from the average of about 9 million to an average of 15 million by next year.
During today's press address to the Kenyans or to the nation, the IEBC chair, Erastus Ethekon, said that IEBC needs around 63 billion for it to prepare fully for the coming general elections.
Yes.
Does this mean Kenya is not ready for the election?
I don't think the IEBC making its position clear in terms of what they require to prepare, to plan or to prepare for the next election indicates lack of preparedness. I think it is their constitutional right to make their needs known, especially because now we are actually at the tail end of the budget process or the budget cycle for the financial year 2027. So I think the IEBC, like any other government department or agency or independent institution, is within their constitutional right to make their needs or their demands known so that they are able to execute their mandate as it is required by the Constitution. It would not be in my purview or in my scope to determine for the IEBC whether that amount is too much or too little. What I believe is that the IEBC must be adequately capacitated so that they will never come back to us to blame funding or similar challenges. So if they have sat down and they are convinced that they need 63 billion shillings to run an election, which to some extent I think is a bit high considering to what was needed in 2022 and 2017. But if in their own wisdom, that is what they consider they require to be able to run a fair and transparent election, then there is no problem. The only problem would arise in the event that process is mismanaged after Kenyans invest that kind of resources in them, because an election is not a rubber stamping process. It is a very profound, sacred expression of the will of the people that is protected in the Constitution. When you look at Article 1 of the Constitution, it is at that point whereby the citizen exchanges power with their choice representatives. So that is something that should not be played around with by all standards. So if they need the 63 billion, my thinking would be let them be allocated the resources. Let them now prove to Kenyans that they are equal to the task to do exactly what they are expected to do. Because when I move around this country, I move around a lot, and the mood of the people is not very good. And Kenyans can afford a lot of things, but not a mismanaged election. So the IEBC needs to be very clear on that, and every Kenyan is watching very closely how that process will be managed.
We expect some informations
Yes.
during this year, during the coming year,
Yes.
before the general elections. Looking forward or looking ahead, do we expect to see NEDP in maybe a coalition, maybe opposition, cooperation, or a new political direction?
Our party constitution allows for the formation of coalitions. But I'll take you back to where this conversation began. As the National Economic Development Party, we are extremely clear in terms of the kind of leadership we want to bring into this country. Now, the kind of leadership that we intend to bring into this country cannot be achieved, especially by working with the same individuals who have worked all their lives to impoverish this country and to reduce this country to the mess that it is today. However, the first coalition that we are seeking to build, and which we believe is mandatory before the general elections, is our coalitions with the citizens of Kenya. And I've given you the numbers. My target, if I can be able to build a coalition with these 15 million disgruntled Kenyans, I'll be perfectly comfortable with that. Because to me, that is the most important coalition we want to work with. In the event there is any other political formation that ascribes to our ideals, ascribes to our vision, ascribes to our mission, and most importantly, the commitment to serve, then we shall welcome them to form a coalition with us. But I can guarantee you from this moment, you will never see the National Economic Development Party going out there to shop for a coalition. We are the largest national political party existing at the moment, and we do not want to start diluting our mission with people who have not been able to demonstrate any tangible commitment to the transformation of this country. Lakini coalition, in fact, our focus is just to build our coalition with the citizens. Kenyans must begin to believe again in political parties, sound, credible political parties that are professionally managed, that are professionally run, that carry only the aspirations of the people. Because that is the only way we are going to clean up the political space. The complaints that the majority of Kenyans have against politicians, all these politicians we see are products of political parties. So our intention is to fix it from within, so that by the time we have individuals under the National Economic Development Party, either in the Senate or in the National Assembly or in the county governments or any other levels, you can be certain that these are people who have proven that they are willing and they are ready to serve this country. That is our only qualification for us to enter into a coalition with anyone.
As we wind up, there was this proposal by the PCS, Musalia Mudavade, that there might be a process of changing the constitution during the general elections. Do you support that?
No.
And why?
One of the reasons is that we have not even fully implemented the current constitution as we have. And it's a good thing that you are mentioning a PCS. You said a PCS,
Yes.
a Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Yes.
Don't you think it is outrageous for somebody who is occupying an unconstitutional office to start discussing about a constitution? Don't you think that is the height of impunity? You should be the last person actually to discuss the constitution of this country. So the constitution as it is, as I indicated, is extremely good for any leader who is comfortable with checks and balances. This constitution is only uncomfortable to dictators, to thieves, to thugs, and people who want to continue pilfering resources that are intended for the people. And that is why one of the key things that we must restore as a country is the actual intention of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, because that is where a lot of political parties and a lot of political party formations are very uncomfortable. So the Constitution as it is, trust me, there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If it is about public finance management, Article 201 is clear. These issues I read every day from the Auditor General, sijui 40 billion is not seen, sijui 3 billion ilienda wapi. Mimi tangu tuingia hapa sijaona pesa ikitembea kwa hii meza. Hakuna pesa iko na miguu. So that money is actually stolen by people. The people who want to get into leadership or into government to steal are the ones who are uncomfortable with this constitution. Anybody else who is genuinely looking forward to serve Kenyans will have no qualms at all with this constitution. And as the National Economic Development Party, we have no problem with the constitution as it is. And that is why perhaps it was important for me to mention to our viewers this. Contrary to some of the stories that were running around, especially after we attained our full registration, you may be surprised that it took us more than 5.5 years to register this political party. And the reason is we decided and committed ourselves to follow the law to the letter. Hakuna hata shortcut yoyote ati tulifika mahali ati tukasema hapana ati tusukumie ama tufanye. Because you cannot cure impunity by being a participant in impunity. You cannot cure the injustices in this country when you are a beneficiary of injustices. So we want to build a society that is very firmly and very strongly founded on the rule of law. And that can only be achieved by first demonstrating, are you ready to work with the law? And that is why our registration process, step by step, many a times actually, and I want to commend the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties because they are extremely thorough and extremely strict in the implementation of the Political Parties Act and their attendant regulations. And we walked every journey. Hata kama ni comma pahali kwa document hakuna, walikuwa wanaturudisha, wanatuambia to we find a new date, tuende turudishe hiyo document ikuwa na comma. We used to go back and do that. We used to do that and go back to the registrar of political parties until we satisfied all the requirements that are stipulated by the Political Parties Act and all the regulations until we attain our full registration. And that's why you find that we are extremely passionate about this party. We had the options of, like many others who are doing it, just to buy any of the existing political parties. But our intention is to build institutions. And I cannot sit here today as the Secretary General of the National Economic Development Party and lie to Kenyans that we are going to rebuild the institutions in this country when we have no decency or we don't have the discipline to build the most important institution that will give us that platform, and that is a political party.
Do we expect to see a candidate in every position come the next general elections?
This is a very interesting question that I keep getting. And the one thing that I want to guarantee you at this particular point, the National Economic Development Party will field candidates as it is stipulated in our constitution. And that means we shall be fielding a candidate from all the way from the presidential level, 47 governors, 47 senators, 47 women representatives, 290 members of the National Assembly, and 1,450 members of the County Assembly from every corner of this country. Our coalition, as I indicated, is with the people of Kenya. The economic challenges that I find in Turkana are the same ones I find in Kwale. The economic challenges that I find with the people of Nyamira are exactly the same I find with the people of Nyeri. The economic challenges I'm finding in Mandera are the same ones I'm finding in Kajiado or any other part of this country. So our intention is to go out there and talk to the people of Kenya and urge or seek to enter into a coalition with them that shall raise this country from the current political noise and shenanigans, and where we can now have real conversations about the real issues that are affecting this country. And trust me, if you meet any ordinary Kenyan today, if they were to give you the top 10 issues that they want addressed, the economy will be number 1 to number 5. It is a mess and it has to be fixed.
Any final remarks?
Well, my final remarks would be that first, I want to appreciate actually this opportunity to speak to our fellow patriots and our fellow citizens. And I want to speak specifically to the Kenyans who have reached that point of despair where they no longer believe in political processes. We have millions of Kenyans who don't see any reason to participate in the next election. We have millions of Kenyans who do not see any reason to register as voters. My fellow brothers and sisters, I just want to urge you to become a part of this movement. I know it has not been easy. I know there has been a million reasons as to why you should not participate in political processes, but we are here to give you just that one reason to believe again in the country called Kenya, to believe again in yourself, and to believe again that we can have a sound, credible government that only and strictly works for the people of this country. It has been a difficult 60 years, but we can fix this. And it is not going to be fixed by making noise on social media. It is not going to be fixed by even flooding the streets. Let us take the most important tool that we need, and that is the vote. And let us fix this nation at the ballot. That is the only hope we have. And some of us are committed to lead that process from the front, because Kenya haiwezi kuendelea vile tulivyo. It has been a long journey getting to where we are. We cannot afford this mess again for another 2 or 3 or 5 years. Thank you.